going to introduce you to somebody the Talky Lady talks to the most, and there are two reasons. The Folky Man is exactly what he says on the tin. Keith is a national and international expert on all sorts of cultural traditions, and he and I have lots of little conversations and big conversations about the things we've seen, and we want to share with you the things that we've learnt over the last 30 to 40 years. I wish I hadn't said that out loud. And we're going to start with, believe it or not, in this beautiful September sunshine, we're going to start with the fact that the bonfire season has already started, and we're going to consider the issues and the wonderful things that happened last night in Uckfiled, which is a small town, large village. Small town in East Sussex, where we had the pleasure of being last night, and I think Keith has got some bits that he'll be able to show of footage he took of that, because Keith normally is behind the camera. So,
although I must admit, when it comes to going to an event, I'm far too busy enjoying the event, or usually taking part in it, to actually take pictures of it, but there you go.
Alright, so what did you think of last night? Could you tell people what you saw, actually? That would be the first thing. What did you see happening last night?
Well, last night I saw a firework display.
Yay!
I also saw some bonfire prayers being said, and I also saw some flaming torches, which is great. It was really nice to see, because I wasn't expecting to see anything at all. But it was all very socially distanced. There were only 30 people there, and they were all very socially distanced and wearing masks. None of them were wearing costumes, they were just wearing high vis. So yeah, it wasn't Sussex bonfire as we know it, but at the same time something happened, and I think that's really important. I think it's absolutely essential that during this COVID time we don't lose sight of our traditions and our customs. It's going to be so easy to lose them, and once we've lost them, we'll never get them back. The same also applies to a great extent to our theatre and our music, but that's a cause for something else to think about.
Well, I think there you've got the manifesto and the common thread of things that we are always talking about. So when we said there were a couple of things. Obviously the participants were in an enclosure that was behind high fences, and we were completely distanced from them. And we were there as well. We were also distant, and most significantly, there were a lot of people who weren't there. So how did those? Can you explain what you saw with that, please, with the live streaming?
Yeah, I mean, what they'd done is that, well, much as we're doing now, they had a camera set up, and they were live streaming the whole event so that people could watch it, participate, and be part of it without actually having to be there, and all the issues that would have brought about with the virus and so on. I mean, to be honest, I was really impressed. I mean, people were saying, oh, you know, this is a bit dodgy, isn't it, having a firework display, and surely it's going to bring loads of people out and all the rest of it. Well, to start with, the Bonfire Society were very, very clever not to actually tell people what was going on until a couple of hours beforehand.
Yes.
I only found out a couple of hours beforehand and shot over there in the hope that I could see something, and did. But they asked people if they could to stay at home and watch it from their houses and from their gardens, and it was an aerial display, and clearly that is what people did. So I'm actually very impressed. There were not hordes of people, there were not crowds all over the streets of Uckfiled. In fact, the streets were empty.
Very much so.
So it was really, really good to see that people did behave themselves, and clearly they were just watching the fireworks from where they were. couldn't actually see them from my garden in Hastings, I must admit. But we managed to find a place that was socially distanced. It was away from anybody else.
Yeah.
And managed to peer through a fence.
Yes.
To see what was going on, and that was great. It was really, really lovely.
And it was lovely for lots of things. It was lovely because we felt safe. We knew we weren't crowding other people, and also we had the excitement of being outside in the cold air. And normally in Uckfield, you have to get into the place very, very early to try and find a parking space, and there are crowds all over the place and road closures, and of course it was pretty much Uckfield as it normally is. We got into a pub for a quick drink beforehand.
Yeah,
really
usually when you go to a bonfire, you can't get into the pub. It's absolutely rammed. There was nobody in there, so we managed to go in, drop our name, order a pint, and then go and sit and drink it in the garden. With nobody else around before we went off to watch the fireworks. That was lovely.
That was well managed, wasn't it?
That was very well managed.
What did you drink, Keith? Because that's one other little thread I think that you have.
Beer. Real ale to be precise,
Yeah.
although I am looking at craft beers these days. But yes, it could well be that if Folky Man continues with this, we might actually have some reviews of beers around the country.
I don't think you're
Beers
going
around the world.
I can't see you just drinking tea.
No. Well, at the moment I feel like a cup of tea.
Well, it's a hot day. It is a very hot September afternoon, which is absolutely glorious. Okay, one of the other things I want to get your perspective on is that we did hear in the background, we heard some kind of event and some kind of music, and we heard people saying 10 more minutes, and it seemed to be very much outside, clearly a controlled point for that. What do you note about when a town has an event, how it affects the existing commerce and life of a town, and what that brings to it, why it's important? And I know I've kind of led you with what you're going to say, but equally so, it's also a very big thing to ask. So these are the start of the snippets of things that are probably going to be repeated, but may not.
You see, we're getting back to customs traditions and why they're important. I mean, they're important because they are rooted in the community. They're part of the community. They're what the community is all about. I mean, I very often say that if a community doesn't want a custom to happen, and unless the people that are doing it are very dogged or in one family or something like that, it's not going to continue, particularly if it's something big that involves use of the streets and things of that nature. And what we usually find is that when there's a big custom going on, all of the pubs are involved, all of the shops are involved, people are often out in their gardens selling cakes and things of that nature. The churches are involved, the church halls are open, there are fetes and all these things, and everybody is getting involved in it, and that's lovely. I mean, that's one of the great things about the customs. It's also one of the great things about English customs and Englishness. It's what we do, and it's fantastic, and long may it continue.
It spreads the party.
It does, doesn't it?
It absolutely
spreads
the party, and it means that people that might not, well, quite rightly, not everyone wants to hold a live flaming torch, but they can certainly support their local club or pub and have a barbecue in the garden, and that also helps the local commerce, because there's a lot of research on that, isn't there?
Mm. Oh yeah, it's very clear that the existence of a lot of English folk customs have a huge effect on local commerce. I mean, certainly once again, as far as Hastings is concerned, I mean, we've got loads going on. We've got loads and loads and loads of traditional customs events. Fantastic place to live because they're all happening.
Do we have enough?
No, I think we need more.
Good.
Always need more.
More is never enough.
But in particular, there's a Hastings traditional Jack in the Green in May, and there's Hastings bonfire at the end in the sort of middle of October, and that actually extends the tourist season. So we get people coming down to Hastings usually, and all of the restaurants. Fat Tuesday,
Yeah, in February.
Pirate Day, all the pubs, all the restaurants, all the hotels, they're all full. I mean, certainly publicans tell me that they just look forward to Jack in the Green because it means after a long, hard winter they can finally make, and it actually makes up for their loss of winter take.
Yeah.
And of course this year,
No.
nothing.
No, they didn't get that kickstart to the
Didn't
season.
get that kickstart to the season, and